Roaring Death, Still Awakening by Free. Segment 3, 2021 to 2023, Shadow Work, Inner Child Healing, and Spiritual Bypassing. You heard correct. At the same time I was introduced to the law of attraction is the same time I started coming into awareness about topics like childhood trauma, emotional intelligence, shadow work, quantum leaping, etc. I learned about chakras and gained a deeper understanding for meditation. And I practiced these things, but at the same time, I was so obsessed with escaping my current reality without actually applying the work 100% of the time. I consistently let outer circumstances overtake me. It took years, until 2024, to realize I was attempting to shift into another reality while making it acceptable to be the same old self behaving with the same self-sabotaging patterns. Honestly, as much as I was studying and even learning about my own inner child wounds, I wasn't actually being conscious. Years of ups and downs, manifesting this but falling back into that. It was a whole karmic cycle that I was slowly but surely becoming aware of. Day in and day out, I saturated my mind with teachings and manifestation techniques, but at the same time, I wasn't grasping the idea of hyper-awareness to your thoughts and emotions and how the two work together to form your reality. I understood the theory, but was failing to apply. Even when I did notice I was spiraling, I made it acceptable. I told myself I could act how I wanted and still manifest the results I wanted. And I did. But it all came with a cost. The cost of losing myself, the cost of hurting myself and others, the cost of time delaying my best version and my best timeline. Yet, I taught this work, enlightening others, even attempting to hold those close to me accountable. Child, it was a recipe for disaster. Be careful who you follow on the internet. I'd studied endless manifestation coaches who some I deemed to be surface level. Some of them taught true healing and ascension, but others, while not explicitly stated, taught spiritual bypassing. You don't have to do shadow work or inner child healing to manifest, they'd say. While I found this to be true, it also didn't sit well with me. It seemed carnal, worldly, shallow. Even as a Christian, I was always obsessed with growth and expansion. I knew my soul wasn't here to gain the world, but to free herself from it. Plus, that type of mindset kept me in highs and lows, ups and downs. Again, manifesting this, but falling back into that. What I will say, though, is that this stage answered so many questions for me about my life, my relationships, my failures, and my successes. My eye had become open, and down the rabbit hole I traveled. I learned about complex post-traumatic stress, mother wounds, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and so much more. Everything was clicking, and sadly, I learned of the condition that my brain was in due to said trauma. I learned how the structure of my brain was shaping my reality. My actions and my behaviors I actually had no control over, even if I were conscious of what I was doing and why. And I used this to my leverage. While all this knowledge was opening my eye, deepening my understandings, and answering all my questions, I let it shape my identity. Granted, it was already my identity, but I had all the tools, the teachings of how to heal and shift into a new identity, my true identity. But I used the trauma and the chemical malfunctions of my brain as excuses as to why I was having a hard time staying consistent. And I was right. I was validated. But the mistake was to continue telling myself and others this story, playing the role of a victim. It wasn't until October of 2025 that I finally said, no more. No more shifting and then reverting. At this point, too much was on the line. Too much had already been on the line. My relationship with myself, my relationship with my man, the upbringing of my children and my relationship with them, my finances, and the overall health and wellness of my body. I was done with the cycles, so I locked in hard, actually committing to embodying the woman I knew I was supposed to be, not who I was taught to be, programmed to be, or abused to be.